During COVID, I started to teach a lot of people how to DJ. And I believe it's a basic human right for anyone to be able to play tunes. I taught men, women, children, whatever. But then it just come about that I was just really enjoying it a lot more with the women. Also, they're really fit. No, joking.
Knew that was coming.
Jokes, but they were.
Hi, and welcome to A Class of Their Own podcast, revealing the human stories behind their name. We will hear honest and intimate reflections from our guests who, despite their circumstances, shape a world that reflects their unique visions of success. Join me, Mira Magacha, to learn from these inspirational people and take the first step to make your own change. On today's episode, we're joined by Santanna Oush. Hi, Santanna.
Ish.
How are you?
Amazing.
Thank you so much for flying in, because I know you've come directly from Ibiza to be here.
Woo! It's only over the road, really.
So I'm recalling when we met, and actually I have very, very vivid memories of when we met. But what can go on camera is that I met you while you were DJing in Ibiza. And we hit it off and we had a conversation, and here you are today in front of us.
Ba-dum-bum-ba-dum.
Yay. So we're going to start the podcast like we do with all our episodes, which is, who is Santanna?
Wow. Who am I? I'm known as a DJ who puts on events for women, live in Ibiza. Who am I? That's quite a broad question.
It is.
Can you help? A little smidge.
A little bit. So you meet someone for the first time. How do you introduce yourself? What's some of the things you say about yourself? What's the introduction you make?
What I do like in life?
Whichever.
I'm pretty chill, to be fair. I'm like extrovert, introvert.
What does that mean?
Like sometimes, I'd say, 4 days a week, I'm like, whoa, 1,000% energy, rah, da 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 da. Like, center of attention. I'm like Taurus, but rising Leo. And then 3 days a week, I'm like in silence at the spa, like not talking out loud, reserving and recharging my energy.
Yeah.
Because as a DJ, flying around, playing lots of gigs, partying a bit, I need to recharge. So, it's like I'm like two different people almost.
And do you think you actually are two different people? Do you give off the vibe? So if I was to meet you, because I met you at the DJing even, and then I met you in the spa, would I actually think you were a different person?
No, because I'm still the same person inside. Yeah. It's just for people who don't know me, who see me DJing or see me at a big group with dinner, would probably think I was a different person when they met me in the spa or, having a one-on-one at the beach or something, because I'm actually also really chill. Yeah, really? It's like from one extreme to the other.
And so tell me about where you grew up and the story of you as a child.
Well, I grew up in Coventry. I moved around quite a few places. I was in foster care from when I was 6.
Okay.
There was quite a few events before I went into care. Mum's an alcoholic, and still is. She's amazing.
So you're in touch with your mum now?
I'm in touch with her. She's more like a friend than a mum. And basically, I've got 2 brothers, 1 sister. So we, like I say, went into foster care when we were 6 years old. From 6 till about 8, we went around different homes, and then some better than others.
And were you all together?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. My eldest brother Lee, he had moved out like 2 weeks before we actually went into care. Yeah. He'd gone to my grandma's because him and my mum had a little thing. I can't remember exactly what.
Yeah.
And then, me, my other brother Marcus and Katie went into care, sometimes together, sometimes separate. Okay. In the last home we were at for 10 years, we were all together. We were only supposed to be there for not long.
Not long, and 10 years later.
Yeah.
And you were all together?
We were all together there until my brother Marcus, he got moved, I think, after about 8 years because he was naughty. And someone was after him in the end. Yeah, I got a little bit like that. Because I grew up like in Kersley Village in Coventry. So it was a little bit like the Bronx.
Yeah.
But I lived in a very, very beautiful, lovely, safe home, which was really, really nice in the end.
And when you say in the end, because you've said that a few times already in a very short period of time, are you okay to share some of what happened that wasn't so okay?
Yeah, of course. I am now because I've done lots of therapy around this. So before I was 6 years old and we kind of went, moved into care. Again, I'll just explain it all. My mum was with a husband. He was nice up until a point. Then they got married, and then he was very violent. He used to hit us and hit my mum, and it was just quite weird. Like he would send my mum upstairs to hit us, and she would pretend to hit the bed with a slipper, and then we'd have to scream and whatever. Like my brother Marcus, he got hit worse, like with a stick. Me and Katie got like a slipper. I can actually remember the feeling actually, because it sent like such a pain into my stomach. So he was doing that. Eventually my mum got rid of him.
And he wasn't your dad?
He wasn't my dad, no. My dad wasn't on the scene. He actually got my dad's kneecaps done in. It was very like kind of gangstery stuff, and he was like scared away, basically.
Okay.
So yeah. So they would hit us, hit her. She got rid of him. And in the end, and my mum was already an alcoholic by then. And she, like I said, she has been forever. And then, like, there's something that had gone on a few days before. Like I said, I was very young. I can remember bits.
Yeah.
Our living room window was already boarded up because that was something happened with the neighbour. We'd kick the ball over. They'd put a knife in it. My mum's kicking off. She was quite... she's still alive. she's quite a funny one.
Feisty is the word that I'm hearing.
Hilarious, dramatic, and with alcoholic, there's a switch and her eyes change and she changes. Yeah. Which is also just really lovely and positive. after everything she's been through, she's had a crazy life. So then this event happened where I was in bed, my brother was in bed. I think my sister was in bed. I can't remember. It's not something we've spoken about, actually, me and my siblings. And these actual events, to be honest, for some reason. So I'm sure maybe we all have different kind of...
You'd have different inputs into them.
Of course, we're all different ages. I mean, between the four of us, I'm the youngest, I'm 36, my brother's 37, my sister is 39, and my other brother's 40. All the same mum and dad, they were school lovers. They had 4 children by the age of 21.
Wow.
I mean, I think a lot of people would have went off the rails, maybe.
Yeah.
So we'll come back. So there was one event where I woke up in the bed with glass, bricks come through the window. Apparently, I was shouting, "Fire, fire," which I'd found out, so I must have spoke about it a little bit to my sister because that's what she said. Yeah. And apparently I was shy as a child. Anyway, different story.
We'll get to how you got to Santanna today.
So bricks come through the window, glass on the bed, my brother comes in, my sister comes in, my mum comes in. The guy, he come in the back. Apparently my mum had grassed him up as a dealer.
Right.
He'd come in, back door, stamped on the rabbit, come upstairs into the bedroom where we all were, and then he's hit my mum. And that was the one event that I had to really just work on getting over, because it was just flashbacks and just not being able to help her, as a child, just to see her. It was so slow motion for me, like just to see her. And the guy had come up and he'd told us to get back in the bed with all glass in, and then he's hit my mum and she just slowly fell to the floor, and it was just like horrible.
And you've got this vivid memory of that.
Yeah, it's super vivid. But like I said, I've done a lot of therapy with this over the years, done a lot of work around it. That's why I'm able to talk about it. And then his girlfriend was there. So the guy who come in, the dealer who's apparently grassed up his girlfriend, come in, and then just after he'd hit her, like there was police sirens outside, like blue lights. So he'd ran out the back, I assume, because that's the way he come in. And then his girlfriend stayed and pretended that She was like my mum's friend, and they were lying to the police and going, "Oh, he had baggy trousers," and describing him to not
Completely
look like look like it was something different. And we just kind of like looked at our mum, was just like, she was like just giving us the eye, like, follow me. And obviously we're just loyal, and we've got each other's backs, and we just kept quiet and were just a bit confused. And then that night, like, we went, maybe my nan, I don't know, it's a little bit blurry around this bit, but it was either that night or the night after. We might have went to my nan's and my mum went somewhere else, or we were all together. I'm not quite sure. But I know it must have been the next day where we went to a battered wives' place or something, my mum called it. And it was just really random. It was one room with a single bed. We had black bags with some stuff in it. And there was me, my sister, my brother, my mum. And we stayed there for a few days, I think. It was just, really, really strange. It was also quite exciting for me as a child. I remember being like, oh, what's this then? It's like,
we're going somewhere new.
Going somewhere new. Like, we're going to eat. It just felt like a school canteen. Like.
And what about school? What was going on at school at this point? Were you at school?
We were at school. Actually, the school garden, the bottom of our garden was actually shared the fence with the school. Okay. That was in Canley, in Coventry. But yeah, my mum had seen, like, she'd looked over the fence one time and had, like, come around the school kicking off because she's in the dinner lady, like, make me face a wall. I don't know, my mum she's just very, like,
you were in trouble, clearly.
She's a no. Yeah, but my mum didn't see it that way. She's like, what are you doing making my child stare at a wall? Yeah. So we were at school at that point. We'd got taken out of school to go to this place.
Yeah.
So we were there a few days. Could have been 3, could have been 4, could have been 2.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. But that's what it felt like. And then after we went to, like I said, my mum called it battered wives' home. It was a house. There was a few other people in there. Mother and a daughter and someone. And all I can remember from that place is a really high lock on the door that I couldn't reach. Like, sometimes I have to be like, oh, can you open this bathroom door? Because people lock it from the outside. And we had to carry my mum to bed because she was drinking and taking hemanethrin, diazepam. These are stuff with alcohol. It's just sloppy.
Yeah.
And so we'd have to carry her to bed, and she would have alcohol in the bottom of her bed covered up with the quote over it, so the social services wasn't clocking it for a little while. I don't blame my mum. To be honest, though, she's had a hard life.
When you got into foster care, what was that like? Because you said for the first 2 years you were moving around quite a lot.
Yeah, we were moving around. Some homes were better than others. Like, some people are foster carers for money. Okay. It's a job.
It's a job.
Yeah. Like, there was some homes, I just remember having shoes on too small. There was one home I went into, and that night I was laying in bed, and it was like, when it's like dark, but you can still see? So you can still see. Then I seen a spider crawl across the bed, and I was just like, wow. Obviously,
you're a child,
this was the first night I was in this home. My brother was at that home as well. My sister was somewhere else, and then I was just like, I can't sleep. Screaming like, can't sleep in here. And I think they thought that I was just playing up kind of thing, and they were trying to make me go back to bed, and I was just like, absolutely not. Am I sleeping there? And then they did get everything out and have a look, and couldn't find the spider, but I swear
but it moved
there was a spider in there that I could see. Anyway, so there was that home, and I can remember things like I said, wearing shoes too small, making me eat meatballs when I'd sit at the table crying. My brother would help me out. Sometimes I'd come in and just like woof them up because I didn't want to eat. I didn't like them, but I know that this might be normal because, some children don't want to eat food and their parents make them eat it. I suppose that's pretty normal. Yeah. And there was another home where they had their own children. This home had also had their own children as well. Right. They just treated their children just a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while you were in any of these places, What were some of the thoughts and feelings that were going on for you?
I was always quite excited.
Okay.
You know,
Intrigued,
intrigued. I think, maybe that's the word. Intrigued to see like what's going on. I was going to like a new school, meeting new children. Also, I was missing my mum and just feeling upset and I suppose confused. But I always knew I was going to go back to my mum, but that's what I thought. Yeah. Then it was always like, okay, your mum's a bit sick, and we need to get her better, and then you'll be going home. That's always
what you were told.
Yeah, that was always what I told, and that's always what I believed. We would see my mum once a week, wherever we went, whatever home we went to, whether she was coming in with black eyes and a shaved head, she was living on the street, or whether she'd managed to find somewhere, around the area. She would always be there, like to have a visit with us.
And so when you got into this foster home with your siblings and you stayed for 10 years, what was that initial introduction like? How did that feel? Did it feel any different to the previous homes that you'd been in?
It was just more secure. There was another one where they had their own children and they bought their children McDonald's and not us. It was either me and my sister or me and my brother. But they bought their children McDonald's and not us when we were on the way to Billy and Aquazone. I think it was my sister, actually. So that was just another home that we were in. Yeah,
so they actually treated you very separately and differently.
Yeah. So that for me is something that sticks, and I'm just like, what the fuck? It's not cool for these
really
people
isn't
to.
cool.
No, it's just really not. And obviously at that age, it was just a bit like, oh, fuck off. Rather than, it shouldn't be like this.
Yeah. But that feeling of I'm going to buy my children something and not your children, what and how did you respond to that? Did you respond to that?
It was just kind of like, no, I didn't respond to that because we were kind of doing as we were told, being, in this new home. So I didn't pipe up at that age yet.
You would today.
I would today. Exactly.
And so then you end up
So there was another few homes. I know there was another home I was at. I was really happy there. There were some other children and they had a pool table. I can remember being happy there. So I had really good times and there was some not shitty moments. Yeah. And then the home that I was at for 10 years was amazing. Like, they were really, like, stern. They tried to be a little bit. They were a bit more stern than my sister. And then when I grew up, they were softened a little bit. We were supposed to be there for, like, a few months max. They were actually short-term carers.
Yeah.
So, and we lived in the police house. It used to be a police station back in the day. It was beautiful, like, immaculate. Gorgeous gardens, flowers everywhere, like a back paddock. They had, like, swimming pool, a pond, like... rabbits, we had dogs, like 4 Chihuahuas, 2 Border Collies, Alsatian. They got horses.
How old were you at this point?
8.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was 8 when I moved there. And then they...
And you talk about that with such
happiness. I love them.
And you're still in touch with them today?
Yeah, I'm still in touch with them. When I go back to the UK, I'm here now for how many hours? I think I'm here for about 10 hours. Yeah, like I'll speak to them now and again online, they'll send me messages like, I'm really proud of you. And I'm just like, thank you so much. But then I will go and see them. Like, they're my parents as well. Like they're my, I don't call them mum or dad. I call my mum still mum. I call my dad still dad. He's in our lives now. It's been about... Things have been in my brothers and sisters' lives a little bit longer than me. They've got children, and he's the best granddad ever. It's like, granddad cool. Oh. So he's amazing, and he's here, and he loves us, and you can see it, the love in his eyes. You can just like literally melt just because of the way he looks at us.
How beautiful. So growing up in a family. With all your siblings in this wonderful, what you've described to be a wonderful location and wonderful house.
Location.
Maybe not so.
Okay. I mean, it was also, it was Kersley Village. And if you know Kersley Village, it was also quite rough, which is also really good because I think it's really good to be streetwise.
And so what happened? What was it like? Because... Again, you've gone through 2 years in some of your most informative years between the ages of 6 and 8 with some level of change or constant change. And then you're in this space where it's lovely, you're starting to feel settled, but yet you were only supposed to be there for a few months.
Yeah.
What's that feeling like? What are you going through? What are the thoughts that you're talking about, thinking about? What's school like, friends? What's life like for you?
Well, I managed to make some really, really good friends. I had like out of school friends and then in school friends, because I always hung around with people who were older than me.
Okay.
So out of school, when I was first there was a little crew of us, and then there was like an extended older crew and a little older crew, but then all that crew that would then be together over the years. So, there was about 30 or 40 of us at, some points, all like over the fields with horses, motorbikes. I had my first motorbike when I was 12. Sorry, Sue and John. They didn't know because I kept it at my friend's house. But we'd all be over the words, all playing together, just, having a good time. So I'd have my friends out of school, which I found really quite easy to make friends when I got there. Once I had my little crew, I just made more friends. And
were you really open growing up about your background, or was it irrelevant?
There's definitely been children being like, "Oh, you're the foster kid," da 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 da. But I can't remember it feeling really bad, or I didn't feel like it was really bad, to be honest. Sue and John were just amazing, and I found it really easy to talk with them about stuff. So, and they were they're professional foster carers. We just felt like they were our parents. Like, don't get me wrong, that they're quite strict at times.
So would parents.
Exactly.
Parents are strict.
Like they'd ground me, but then stop my brother's money. And I'd be like, well, I'd stop my money instead. And ground, because grounding me was like, it was the worst, because I just wanted to be out with my mates. Because I was earning my own money anyway. I sold potatoes door to door when I was 11.
You sold potatoes?
Yeah. I was earning dough at that age. Then I started a paper round. I was trying to do over the Telegraph and sell mine and add 20p onto each one. And
where did that come from? Where did that power of, I need to earn some money, what was that driver for you then?
It was just to be extra free. Friends had more money than me because their parents would give them money. We all had different rates of pocket money because we're different ages. We'd have to clean the house and walk the dogs and stuff to get our money. And then Mad Harry turned up in a blue van, blacked out windows in the back, and it was like, "You want to earn some money?" And it was like, obviously. So we got in the back of this van and we were just sat on loads of bags of potatoes. So he'd be driving like this, and then we'd learn a pitch, and he'd be like, "Good evening, sir." And we'd be like, "Good evening, sir." At that point, I had a really squeaky voice. I was called Squeak. My brother was called Bubble. It was like Bubble and Squeak, they called it. And then a couple of other friends. So the pitch was, "Good evening, sir. We're expanding our rounds in your area. We're offering you New English potatoes. They're very easy to scrape. It's a lot of a twist. Same as you going down the town." And then I'd just run off, grab a bag of potatoes and be like, "Here you are." And I used to make dough, 25, 30 pounds.
And when you say potatoes, this isn't a code name for anything other than potatoes.
Not on this occasion. No, they were just bags of potatoes. They cost, I think, about £5 or £6, and then you'd earn the money because obviously they continue the sales. So at that point, it was just I'd already been in their door having a cup of tea. You know what I mean? And then later on, I sold door to door as well. Sky Television, Talk. We used to earn £1,000 a week.
And it was just from... But where does this confidence come from? This energy? Because I can feel the energy just being around you.
I'm not sure. Because as a young child, my sister, when I put something on Facebook one time, I wrote something, and my sister was like, "Oh, such a sweet, shy girl." And then I called my sister up. I either called her or sent her a voice note, and I was like, "What are you on about?" And she was like, "Yeah, you were really shy as a child," but I didn't know that. I've only got a couple of photos as a child. My grandma's got a few, and there's just a few about. There's not many, but looking, I mean, I had a one-piece black leotard on that I still kind of wear nowadays, and had a magic wand in my mouth, and I thought I looked super confident, top of the world, having a great time. But so I'm not sure when my confidence come in, but then I was really confident. Maybe because I felt safe and secure.
But also you had the movements, I'm assuming. So every time you moved, you had to build new relationships.
Different schools.
Yeah. You had to reintegrate from a very young age.
Yeah, and I did a lot of fighting when I was younger until a stage where I'd go into the school and be like, right, who's the hardest, who wants to fight? So then people are not going to try and bully you. And, you know, so in the end, it was just like, who wants it? And then in the end, I didn't have to fight. It would just be like, yeah, you're now like up the top kind of thing, like where no one fucks with you, basically.
This episode is brought to you by Play for Change. Play for Change brings together leadership coaching, expert facilitation, and builds communities. They help craft real connections, spark learning, and turn play into powerful experiments to enable better relationships with yourself and others around you. To find out more, go to playforchange.co.uk. Links are in the show notes below. If you were to think about you and your siblings, and you've had slightly different years of experience in terms of different situations, and I'm sure your sister will remember things you don't remember, and your brother,
she was a bit older,
what
she was 4 years older, yeah.
And so when you think about yourselves, are you quite similar as a group of individuals? Not today, but back then.
Back then, I think yes, more back then. Now, not so much. Like, I mean, my sister was the coolest thing ever. I used to just be like, oh my God. Like, when she got me into garage music, and, you know, she was just so cool. And like, I used to watch her doing mascara. Everything she did, I copied her.
Yeah.
And then my brother Marcus, like everything, he taught me like most things I know, to be honest. Like, football, helped him make Johnny Poppers that smash windows, like that stuff, you know, fires.
You didn't do that stuff?
No, not me. Not me, BT phone boxes. Not anymore.
They don't exist anymore.
No. I was a little bit naughty. Oh, really?
A
rebel as a child.
I could probably tell that.
A smidge. However, I was lovely and kind and really, really nice as well.
And what shows up for you as an adult today from your younger years?
Being told what to do. It's just not a thing for me. Like, because growing up, you know, if people tried to tell me what to do, even Sue and John, you know, sometimes I was a bit like, you're not my mum, you're not my dad, you can't tell me shit. You know, so it's just being told what to do is just kind of a bit like,
a trigger.
No. And, it just kind of like doesn't register with me. Like, I'm not very good at being told what to do, basically. And I've worked for myself for many years now. So that's good.
So tell me about potato selling. And you mentioned that you did door-to-door sales and Sky and all of that to DJing. So tell me about your career journey.
Okay. So sold potatoes door-to-door, sold a few cigarettes at school,
I can't believe I know someone who sold potatoes door-to-door.
And I love potatoes. Like, if it was the last, you know, one thing on earth that we could eat, potatoes. One ingredient, potatoes.
Yeah, of course.
Standard. Sorry, I keep coming back now. So I sold potatoes door to door. Then I sold like some cigarettes at school, blah, blah, blah. You know, I used to buy some cigarettes, $2.50 Regal from Jack down the road, and sell those as well. Like, make real good money. Some people, it was like 50p a pop. Some it was like £1. At the end of the day, when everyone had run out, so some was £4 for a pound.
£4 for a cigarette?
No, 4 for £1.
Oh, 4 for a pound.
1 for a pound or 1 for 50. It depends what age group you're in, what year you was at school.
And how desperate you were.
There were, you know, some were cheaper at the start of the day, the morning, stuff like that. But I'd take 40 and save 20 for the end of the day.
How did you learn this stuff? Regardless of the fact that you were selling cigarettes. But how did you learn about supply and demand? Because that's ultimately what it was.
Yeah, well, I needed the dough because all my mates had dough. Like I said, because their parents would give them more money. So I suppose I just needed it. And the opportunity come about. So I suppose that I was taught sales from the potatoes.
Love it.
And then, I got decks when I was 13. Got my first like vinyl collection, drum and bass. I was also an MC. Shit, like really kind of like, yeah.
How do you get into it?
Well, friends. Like there was a guy, Kevin Turner, he was a big inspiration to me as well. And there was like Miss Dynamite and just all these people that I listened to. It was like Hysteria, Andy C, Nicky Black Market, Skibbity. And I used to obviously have CDs and tapes. I used to have like tapes with like 8 in each one. So I was just like, I was into music as a child. I remember like young, like 4 or 5 years old, like, you know, turning over all the pans. I mean, I suppose a lot of children are, but, you know, my mum also was well into music. I mean, everyone had a hi-fi with a vinyl player on top back then, no?
Yeah.
Like everyone. So grew up in a really musical home. Like I say, Dex, when I was 13, I was singing, emceeing, but I was like doing it in my room to start with.
But you were
just
shy.
Recording stuff. No,
Or
not
at this
at
point?
13. No, at 13, I was like,
you owned it.
I owned it. And I was just really confident. Like I played lots of sports for teams, football, swimming, running, doing all this stuff. And music. So I got vinyl, turntables, recording lots of stuff, writing loads of lyrics. My sister would take the piss because my lyrics didn't really mean anything. Hitty witty come and I want to hurt someone on a mic. It's just like ridiculous. And then from there, I played my first gig out when I was 14. Wow. Somewhere in Leamington Spa. It was like a random place with, there was like a catwalk and like, there was just lots of different stuff going on. I got my first residency when I was 16.
You got your first residency?
Residency at a gay bar in Coventry called Five Monkeys.
You weren't even allowed to be in a bar at this point. Okay.
So yeah, got my first residency there and it all just started from there really. So in between that I was studying sports science, played like football academies, like I said, I used to do cross country in Warwickshire and blah, blah, blah. And then that kind of all fizzled out when I started partying. So then I was like studying, DJing. I was a youth worker as well. And then I started working. I nearly left college a couple of times because there's so much writing and I'm very like practical and I was like, I thought there was going to be so much more
creative.
Creative, like sports because I was studying sports. So
yeah.
It was just like, whoa. So I nearly left. I did leave, went back, went and took the payments and congestion charge for 2 weeks. Then I was like back to college, like, can I come back?
But I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Then I nearly joined the army because I thought it was a career. So I like did my physical, medical, like, I was going to go for selection. Then my friend showed me a video and was like, what? And I was like, no, go back to college. And then...
Did you finish it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I started working. I basically moved out of my place when I was it 17? Nearly turning 18. Then went to my brother's in Birmingham, my oldest brother, Lee. This was the brother who had lived with my grandma all this time when we were in the other homes. And I knocked on his door. And then I was like, oh, I'm coming here. Because we used to party together also, going out in Birmingham. And he was my top fan. Like, he bought me like headphones and was just, really just like my biggest fan of supporting me. And then I was like, right, you're going to have to move on the sofa, Lee, because I'm moving in. we did sleep in the bed a few nights together and it was just like, nah. I woke up to his hairy armpits in my face. I was like, you're going to have to, it was his apartment.
Love
I was like, come
Younger
on.
sister.
Yeah. And then I started working for a company called Cobra, which was amazing. The guy,
As in
Mark,
Cobra Sports?
No. Cobra is a company that started years and years ago, actually in Australia, first selling big pens door to door.
Okay.
And people become millionaires, like door to door knocking. So you knock doors, you earn dough. Once you do 3 sales 3 days in a row, you're then a leader and you're then training people up on a daily basis. We were working 6 days a week. So you're training people up. And then once someone on your team, 3 people in your team do 3 sales 3 days in a row, you're a crew leader. So once you get to the top, you then open your own office and then you're getting paid 50 per sale that everyone does. And the person who's selling also gets 50 per sale. This was there at that time. So yeah, I learned everything I needed to know, like my positive mental attitude. That was where the floppy disk went in to me there because like I'm the most positive person that I know. And if it was all commission. So if you didn't sell, you weren't earning a penny. If you sat on that curb, we called it like, I can't remember now. Oh, that was a bit of a shit one. So basically, if you didn't sell, you wouldn't get any money. We were going in the office 2-3 hours in the morning, whiteboards, learning stuff, pitching, listening to motivational stories of, other people who have been in the company a while, going to other areas all over the UK. I even went to Italy. I was knocking doors there. This is when I was a team leader. I went there to help their team. I took some guys out in Italy, showing them going through the pitch with them in English, and they were talking in Italian, and they did sales.
And you were young.
Yeah.
Doing
that was like
all
18.
Of this.
Yeah. And also playing a little bit, still playing a bit DJing.
Yeah.
And then I worked for a magazine, Mergers and Acquisitions magazine, got paid dough one month.
Sounds fun.
It was like
compared to everything else you've done.
Quite corporate. But I was a job hopper. So door-to-door sales, then I'd be like, oh, I can't be asked to do this now for 6 days a week. Then I'd hop somewhere else and go, I worked for HFC Bank selling PPI insurance. Then I worked in a call centre. I've worked everywhere to do with sales, like basically, selling fish to the Eskimos. But also it kept it fun for me, like new offices, meeting new people, Eventually, I did work for the Home Learning College for quite a while. Then I managed a big team there, built a team in London, which was quite fun.
Which was, where did you work?
Hammersmith. And they had got my apartment for me, which was over the road, literally just over the road as well. So I could like pop over and have my washing out. It was that close.
Yeah.
But it got to a stage where I was just like, how long am I actually going to do this? Money was sweet. The job was sweet, but not until a Thursday. Thursday, Friday. Sometimes the office was open on a Saturday, Sunday. I'd do like half day here, half day there, have Mondays off, which was also amazing. But it just got to a stage where I was just like, how long am I going to do this? Money is not doing it for me.
Were you living for the weekend at that point?
I was living, I don't know what for, even the evening, just like finishing work and going for drinks. So it was just like a lot of hangovers, going in. I was good though at what I did, and I taught, like I said, it was like Wolf of Wall Street in the end. It was like alcohol, whatever, on Fridays, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Picking a call out of the thing and just doing live calls to my team and just showing them how to sell, but selling on, there and then on the phone. Anyway, the fact is, it just got to a stage where I was just like, what the fuck? And I actually I took my girlfriend to Vegas for her 30th at the time, because I'd already been in Ibiza then. And so I'd already been in Ibiza in the summers and coming back for winters. So so let me just bring it back. So I was at Mergers and Acquisitions magazine. I went travelling. My travelling was
to Ibiza.
I ended up there, thank God. My travelling was mainland Spain. I went to Salou because I'd only ever been there. I never really went abroad as a child. The first time I ever went abroad was for a football tournament in Czech Republic when I was 15. I went straight from an English GCSE exam, straight to the airport. I'd never been on a flight, went on my own, met the football team there. So obviously I had my exam and it was there. The other time I'd went with my friend Claire Edwards to Salou on a coach. So anyway, so I was going travelling. I went to somewhere that I knew and I ended up working there as an entertainer 3 days later in the Red Lion, doing like DJing, quizzes, dance competitions,
Only
whatever.
you, Santanna. You go travelling and you've got a job in 3 days. Travelling.
Yeah. So then we were there. It was my girlfriend at the time, Amy. And so we were there. Then we went to Benidorm. So we did a little season in Salou. Went to Benidorm. We ended up living in this whorehouse. So there was this long corridor and there was like 100, well not 100, maybe like 20, 30 like apartments like this, had bars on the windows. We didn't know it was like, prostitutes were working out of there until we'd like paid up rent up front, and then we're like, oh, we clocked what was going on. It was very random. We stayed there 3 weeks and then we left. We'd already paid 2 months rent up front. Then we went to Ibiza.
Right. That's how you got to Ibiza.
Exactly. So I didn't know anyone there. No one at all, actually.
Yeah.
Amy, who I was with, she had one friend, I forgot her name now. Anyway, we had one friend there, so we went there and then we stayed there like September, October, November. Then we went back to the UK and then it kind of went back to working in the winter, Ibiza for the summer, and the Home Learning College kept my job open for me as well, so that I'd go back and then go back to there. Then eventually, after a few years, I then went to Vegas for my girlfriend's 30th, different girlfriend at the time. We were there 3 years, Anyway, so then we come back from Vegas and there was a few days before we had to go back to work. And then in them few days, I was like, fuck it, should we go to Ibiza? And the reason why I was still in the UK was because she was quite a family person, wanted to live down the road from her family. Her dad had died, there was a lot going on. It was just kind of there was no chance she was ever going to live in Ibiza. So we went to Ibiza. Anyway, I didn't come back. So we were there for the weekend, and then I stayed like with my little suitcase and resigned on the beach and was just like, yeah, had to.
And that's where the life of DJing
that's where I come fall back in. But I was also like PRing a little bit there.
Okay.
I forgot the name of the place now. I saw her in San Antonio. Like, I loved San An.
Of course you did.
My life wouldn't have been the same, and it's completely different now to what it is and what it used to be. Like, there was 3 of us, me, my friend Hannah Smith, which is now Hannah Wants, Laura Sammy. We basically paid $3,000 between us for 6 months rent. So it was $1,000 each for 6 months rent. You could literally throw a stone into the sea from the balcony.
Yeah.
We were that close. Like, obviously the prices have changed a lot then.
Substantially.
So that was fun. So I was working as a PR, playing a bit, just kind of like bopping around.
And when was this in compared to now?
When was it?
Yeah, so how many years?
And stuff. The time just so blends in for me. I don't really know. So,
do you think that was 6 years? Not to the exact date or anything, but was that like?
So I've been in Ibiza 18 years.
You've been in Ibiza
half
18?
My life. I'm 36. Yeah.
Wowzers.
So when I went back there, like properly, fully, I'd already been there about 6 years before. Then I was back in. Yeah, I don't know. So
wow,
you do the maths.
So about 12 years ago. Ish, give or take.
Yeah.
Based on what you've just said.
Yeah. And then I was in Ibiza. Then, and I still am, as my main base, like winters and stuff. Like I've done 3 winters in Australia. I had a girlfriend, Beck. We become a duo DJ couple. We were called Sabaluna. That was really fun. Because then we were in Ibiza, and it's fun playing with someone all the time, you know, rather than on your own. Don't get me wrong, I love playing on my own, but all the other stuff like going through tunes and blah blah blah, like, it's a lot of like aloneness and traveling to gigs alone. It can be quite lonely sometimes.
Yeah.
So that was fun. And then we were playing in Australia. We were playing like 6 to 8 gigs a week, just having a great time.
And living
it.
When did you decide that DJing was going to become a full-time job? And what made that reality for you?
It took me a while to change over, like, to full-time DJing, because it's scary to fall forward and just know that the universe has got you.
Yeah.
Like, I was doing all sorts. I was selling this, that, and the other, obviously. And, I was like renting out boats, apartments, strippers, caterers, makeup artists, whatever. So I was doing all, that kind of stuff, DJing a bit, doing lots of free gigs, but people didn't know that at the time, because I was doing lots of free gigs and a couple of paid gigs. And then, I don't know how I made the change. It just kind of happened. It was graft, really. It was just playing so many gigs. Then eventually I just started getting paid enough money from from the paid gigs to actually just fully do it and change over. And then the other stuff fizzled out.
Did you have to have any self-talk with yourself to go, actually, I can do DJing. I can let go of being this fabulous seller on this side, and I've got to trust in myself to be able to do DJing? Is DJing where you wanted to go ultimately?
Yeah, exactly. So I did a lot of work. Like I've been meditating for about, how old am I now? 36. I'd say from about 27.
What? So let's go into that self-healing journey.
Yeah.
Because sitting in front of me, you're a super positive, and you said this about yourself. You're super positive. Of course, there's days that you're not going to be super positive and you're down and all the emotions that come. But it hasn't been a straightforward childhood. It hasn't been a linear journey to get to here. But yet, there's a big fat smile in front of me. There's the energy that oozes from you. When did you decide that you needed to do any of the self-healing, the therapy, the meditation?
When I was with my girlfriend Beck at the time, the Australian, she brought that into my life.
Okay.
I think really. And around that same kind of time, my best friend Spanny brought other things into my life, like Reiki and, this kind of stuff. So I like my Beck, my ex, she did like Tony Robbins and stuff like that from the age of 12. Like her dad is an absolute legend. So it all kind of started there really. Listening to Bob Proctor, which I still listen to probably 5 days a week. I'll listen to Bob Proctor. There's specific meditations, this for manifestation, specific meditations for lots of different stuff, whether it's self-love. I listen to reprogramming stuff most nights, but like 6, 7, 8 hours ones sometimes. I meditate some days for like 3 hours, an hour to 3 hours, sometimes 6 hours.
And what is meditation for you?
Bringing myself back to the present moment, because that's where the magic is. That's one of my lyrics in a song, actually. I've got a song called Everything's Temporary, and it's like, magic is in the moment now. That is one of the lyrics, because it is. Like, if you're thinking of the past, it's like, I can't remember which way around this is, but it's like anxiety, depression. I know one of them, I can't remember which way around. If you think of the future, it's anxiety, thinking the past, it's depression. Living in the moment right now, this second, is where the magic is. So I spend my time bringing myself back to the moment, observing my thoughts. Are they negative? Are they positive? I write affirmations and repeatedly go over them, mantras. Like, I'm moving into making meditations, actually. That's why I'm staying in Europe this winter. So I'm just moving on to this now because it just, happened. So I normally go traveling in the winter, Thailand, Bali, Australia, India, wherever. Yeah. I'm staying this winter to make an album, start a band, and just do that really. Maybe India for 1 month, but staying to get this other stuff done.
India needs to be in it.
Just 1 month, because it's time to get shit done. Like, I've been talking about doing this stuff for so long, but DJing, putting on events. So I've got an event called Oush, which is all female DJs, which organically come around. We'll talk about that in a moment. There's just no time to do the other stuff. And I found myself getting drained, and I have been battling my entire life. There has been something internal, a lot of darkness, a lot of light also. And I know there's no light without darkness. Yeah. But I had this internal battle for years, and like my entire life. And in the last few years, I've started actually opening up and talking to people. The only person I would ever open up to was my best friend Spanny. She used to like bring things out of me, but I would always just be like, I'm okay. No, I'm fine. And not be vulnerable at all. And now I'm vulnerable and be like, I'm not okay.
But you're here on this podcast, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't talk on social media. This is the first thing. This is the first like talking that, most people on my social media, everyone on my social media, I can't talk, are going to see, because I don't do talking videos. It's pictures and videos of me like dancing around. I put some singing videos up. How hilarious. I could put some singing videos up of me, but not talking. But here we are. So I've got a lot to say.
And the singing videos, when you write your own lyrics, are they meaningful lyrics?
They're meaningful. They're healing. Yeah. That I haven't put these ones out yet. I've only put videos, and that was a couple of years ago, some videos out of me singing other people's songs.
Right.
But my songs that are coming out now, I've sung them live on gigs. I haven't fully got them out yet. Yeah. But they're coming. Like there's some tracks I'm making with people, but I keep half doing things. Like I'm half in the studio, that one's half finished. I'm half doing this with you, like acoustic version in the studio with you. But that's what I'm saying. This year is the time to. This winter is the time for me to do it, because I've slowed my gigs down. Like, I had an agent for 1 year, which was really good. Like, he got me some really good gigs. And then something didn't feel quite right, because I just feel a bit trapped and, not trapped, that's the wrong word. Like, because sometimes, I do little things and I feel like sometimes I'm getting told off.
You're getting told off because you're not where you should be.
Exactly, just getting a little bit told off. And like sometimes, I don't know, if the phone was ringing, I'm like, oh, what have I done now kind of thing. So it just didn't really fit me just to have one agent. And I just know that mentally I've slowed my gigs down a bit where I've made a decision to go, do you know what? I'm not doing that gig for money because that's a job. So there was gigs I was at. I decided this last year, and this year I've really, really put it into practice and gone, oh no, I'm not doing that gig. And actually saying no to gigs because it's for money and it's a job and it's not feeding my soul. So that energy that I'm using to go to these gigs for money is taking my energy that I could be using to write songs, to sing, get in the studio.
And so tell me, we're going to come back to that in a minute, but tell me about Oushi.
Hey, Oushi. So basically, it all came around. My friend Steph, we were at a party, and I'd gone, Oush, because I'd started saying Oush years ago, and it just become Santanna Oush because it was like, Oush. People just call me Oush because I just Oush. And, I go into a supermarket, there'll be a little old lady, you Oush her and she'll Oush back. So anyway, it was just very contagious. Little did I know, Oush means like sending your prayers to the stars. Oush. Found this out later before the brand come around. So Santanna Oush is my DJ name. Santanna is my actual name. Santana Maria Ali is my actual name. But that actually feels false sometimes. Some people are like,
you don't associate yourself with that name anymore.
When people find out my name's Santana Ali, they're like, are you sure? Because it's like Santanna Oush is just, how I'm known. So Santanna Oush, so we're at the party. And she went, is she? And I was just like, And that just kind of like, I don't know how exactly it come about, but that's where the actual name come from. Oushi, who is she? Yeah. So during COVID, I started to teach a lot of people how to DJ because all of my gigs had obviously stopped. I had money coming from nowhere whatsoever in this 2 years. So I started teaching people how to play. So it organically come around. And then there was quite a few women. I was like, you're fucking good. Like, you're really good, just playing the lifetime collection of music. And I believe it's a basic human right for anyone to be able to play tunes. Like, how often is there DJ equipment or whatever, just carry your music around and USB and play tunes. Anyway, so there was a lot of amazing women who just really, really stood out. I taught men, women, children, whatever. But then it just come about that I was just really enjoying it a lot more with the women. Also, they're really fit. No, joking.
Knew that was coming.
Jokes, but they were. Anyway, so children. It was great. With the children, I found it easier with more than one child in the end, like 2 or even 3. And sometimes it was a bit like, oh, fuck, okay, maybe just 1.
Depending on how raucous they were.
So that was getting me some money, during COVID. I didn't have as many men ask to do that, actually. So that had all come around naturally. I started a cleaning company called Spruce as well. I'll tell you a bit about that in a minute.
Of course you did. Why would I think there was only one thing going on?
I had to get the money from somewhere. Whilst there was no gigs and it was illegal to dance in Ibiza. What? Yeah. What world are we living in? I mean, there's obviously lots going on, but what? Yeah. Illegal to dance in Ibiza. That's when I started Oushi, obviously. Against the no dancing rule, against, everything.
You were told you couldn't do something, exactly. And so you broke the rules.
Exactly. So Oushi, who is she, come about. It was like, okay, let's create a platform for fresh DJs who can play. I've taught them. Some of them were even basic mixings, but that's all you need. If you've got good tunes, if you can basically mix, got good tunes, jobs are good. And so I mentioned it to Andy, who was at Pikes at the time, for 1 minute. I'd just gone like, I've got this idea, And then he called me back about 2 weeks later, or sent me a message and was like, right, I've thought about your party. Right, is it ready? And I was like, yep. Was it fuck?
Of course it wasn't.
Obviously, I just created a logo within like 5 minutes, which is amazing. Have you seen the logo? It's an ooh and a she. So it's like tits on a t-shirt, looks great. Anyway, made it on an iPhone 5. It's genius. I've had a lot of people reach out, if I do say so myself, a lot of people reach out to say how great the branding is, but I've done it all myself. All the branding, all the logos, all the artwork, everything. I've absolutely done myself, which I thoroughly enjoy and I find it really easy. Anyway, so the Oushi party, so it's all female DJs. And I've had it running for 4 years now, and it's evolved in 2. So when the first parties was on for the first year, and I was working with such a small budget, it was ridiculous, like €400 for everything. So obviously photographers, videographers, DJs, a lot of people did me a lot of favours for playing. But also I played a lot of gigs for many, many, many years. It also gives them a platform. That's the whole point of Oush, to lift them up and, make it a career if they want it to be. If they want to earn money by DJing, this allows them to do it. There's a lot of DJs who started with Oush who are now playing on the radio, who are playing at parties. It's doing what I set out for, and just really organically. So it started there, 4 years been running. But now it's evolved into like 40% of the DJs are fresh, like super fresh. I get a million messages and emails and
how cute
all the time of people asking. It's actually quite overwhelming.
Of course it is.
I do have to take some days off the phone because it's like, everyone will get a reply within 2 weeks because it's just too much. Like some days I turn my phone on and I've got like over 100 messages. That's just WhatsApp, and it's like. It's really, really is overwhelming. That I've got to a stage now where I really need a shit hot PA. I've got a team forming. That's another thing. I'm starting a festival and doing loads of stuff. Anyway, so and it's Oush. So Oush, I've done 3 parties in the last month and a half. So one in London, one in Ibiza. I've got one coming up in Biarritz in Paris. Anyway, so 40% of the DJs are super fresh. Whether they've just come out of their bedroom, they've never actually played a gig out, but they're really, really good, or I personally taught them how to play, or they've come through someone else, they've messaged me and been like, oh my God, I love your party, check my Instagram out, and I've checked it and gone, you're amazing, you're in. And then the 40% of the DJs are a bit more experienced, and those DJs tend to be DJs that have played it out a little bit already, or they've played for my parties, they've all got more experience. Then I get in like one big headliner now. It's just kind of evolved into that. And I've had...
And that attracts the crowds as well.
It does. And the curation of it, I get as many DJs in as possible. People are doing power hours, like 12 DJs doing a power hour. We've got 3 different areas. Got the Bathtub Club, this is at Pikes. Freddie's Room, the Plaza Mayor, and some of them, you wouldn't know the difference who's fresh and who's not. Like the curation's done good, and these people, they're raring for it, and also very nervous. Some of them, it's like their first gig ever to play at Pikes. It's just like unheard of. But they're ready for it, or else they wouldn't be there doing it. Do you know what I mean?
But it must also remind you of what it was like when you first did yours. Your very first gig when you were 14.
I remember being nervous. I remember being nervous for many years, like playing in, big clubs. And it was just like, oh God, I used to have to really tell myself, I wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here
if you weren't good enough.
Yeah, if I wasn't good enough. And then I would get like I said, just one big headliner into each one.
What an incredible journey to empower women to do something that isn't a standard career.
Yeah. It is really, I do find it really easy though. And it does make me feel amazing. So I get a lot of the DJs, of just like thank you from the bottom of my heart. It feels really, really nice. It feels valued. I feel valued, I suppose, for helping them. But it just comes so natural to me. And, I've never had a problem getting gigs. Like, I'm like, not your typical woman. I'm like half man, half woman, I suppose. Energetically, I mean, everyone can be if they want it, but I'm like, not your typical woman. So, I've never had a problem getting gigs. Like, I'll go somewhere, see someone, meet someone, I'm booked. They've seen me play, I'm booked, whatever. But the music industry is still so imbalanced.
Yeah.
I've got some friends, huge DJs, who have been asked to play gigs to tick a box when they've been like, okay, we need a female DJ, just to tick a box, like in all these big lineups, it's still going on. So, because I've had some people say to me, only a handful, a bit like, it's a bit sexist, you doing this, these parties for women, which did really make me think. I was like, fuck, like, am I just
creating a problem?
Am I creating a problem? Like, am I doing back to the guys what's happened to the women? I mean, it's not all the guys, it's not their fault. It's only the people, in the industry who were making the parties or, doing the lineups or whatever, who were like, and I was just like, fuck. Then I was like, no, actually, and I had friends talk me around and go, no, you're doing it right. Because after that had happened, the first few comments about that, I was going to do an Oush plus he. And then I did. I made the flyer and everything. I was going to do it. Then one of my friends had reached out to me Ryan O'Gorman, he's got the label Vitalik, and he's a really good friend of mine. He helped me get on the map. There's a couple of people really who helped me get on the map. He gave me like a room in Sankey's, and there was someone else, Owen, who gave me really big gigs in like Heart. It used to be Heart in Ibiza, it's now Chinwa and whatever. But the thing is, at the venue I was going to do it at, the guy was like, when I was playing there, I started touching the volume, and I was like, mate, I don't think I can even put the event here. But then when Ryan had gone, don't dilute the brand, I was like, okay, and I didn't do it. And actually,
the right decision.
I think definitely the right decision. So I mean, I do want to do.
You want to do something.
I mean, I want to do it all. Like a new they, a new here. Just bring everyone on board. Like, you know, because there's so many. No matter what sex you are, there's so many amazing DJs. You know, it's just the women really did need that push up. They needed the push up, and that's why I've done it. So,
what's the one question you wish I had asked you that I haven't? What's coming?
Maybe my sexuality.
Okay. So?
Because might as well touch on it whilst we're here. I'm not your ordinary person. I mean, when people have spoke about my sexuality before, they're like, oh, so, because everyone assumes that I'm a lesbian.
Right.
There's been a lot of people assume that Oush was a lesbian party as well, which it's absolutely not.
No.
The lineups just sometimes do end up quite queer just because they naturally do. But yeah, so I don't fit into any box because I, as a child, was attracted to boys growing up. As a teenager, I always had boyfriends, snogging. I was only attracted to women. So older women, like teachers or youth workers, or a woman in a powerful position. Yeah, just really strong, powerful women. So growing up, I was a bit like, didn't really get it. Had a serious-ish boyfriend when I was like 16. Then it's like when I started having sex, I was a bit like, oh, I'm not quite sure about this. Then I got a girlfriend, and then I've always had girlfriends ever since.
Right.
Like
since you're about
3-year relationships with women. Yeah. Like I said, there's no box that I fit into. But really, really recently, I've actually opened up to men again, because I would sleep with a man now and again. And recently, I don't know, I was seeing a guy a little bit and fully open to men again. I think I'd stopped being open to men because I'd been in a situation quite a few times where I've slept with a man where I didn't really want to,
right.
Just because I'd ended up back at their house
and
after a party or whatever, going back, and you're just a bit like, oh, I'm here now, kind of thing, and not really enjoyed it. So I think that's why I closed men off altogether.
Right.
Because I thought, oh well, I am really only into women. I just wank about men. I'm into women, and that's how it is. But recently I've just opened back up to men, and now I want a husband and a wife. So when I next commit, so I've been single now for a few years, but I want a husband and a wife and a child, which I always knew I would adopt, maybe in my 50s, and if I gave birth through me. I mean, I'd never really thought about it, but I've got to an age now, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I think I'll give birth to one child through me. My wife, the couple.
Wow.
Please. And then, maybe adopt.
We started this conversation with who is Santanna, and I want to take us right the way back to that and go, is there anything you would add, change, based on the conversation we've had?
Fucking amazing.
Absolutely.
No, I've got myself there. I've entered bliss this year, actually. Like I said, I've been battling my entire life, and this year it's just been like so smooth. I'm like, whoa, fuck. Like, I'm not going up and down.
You've not created
it's like,
chaos.
Yeah, it's gone there. And I'm an amazing person to have around. Like I lift a lot of people up. Like I'm amazing, basically. In a nutshell. And I've done a lot of work to say that. A lot of work on myself to love myself. A lot of self-love. So yeah, how am I? Fucking ish.
Amazing.
Sorry if we're not allowed to swear.
You're all good.
Sorry, not sorry. That's the name of the
You're
album.
all good. Thank you so much for flying in for this. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And I can't wait for the next chat.
Me too. Oosh.
If you enjoyed that conversation, please share A Class of Their Own podcast with your friends and family. Subscribe, follow and like. It really helps us continue to grow. Keep being you through connection, learning and play. You are a class of your own.